In 2023, a crack commando unit of retro podcasters joined forces on a panel at LA Comic-Con, but were sent to Comic-Con jail for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped. Today, still wanted by 80s nerds, they are very easy to find. If you have an 80s nostalgia problem, if no one else can help, maybe you can hire the Night Boyz.
Well, you heard it from Kevin Bacon himself. Let's dance, everybody. Let's get down to it on this month's 80s Kids Unite. It is a pick, thank you very much, from Corey Stevenson from Podcasting After Dark, my brother from another mother, but also a patron, $2 late fee.
I think I came up with it on the fly, didn't I? On an episode or something. I was like, oh, this would be a fun one to do.
Yeah, last month, actually. You're like, oh, this would be
fun. Time's a flat circle, buddy. I have no clue when.
So Wayne's here as well, and Wayne messages me, and he's like, so what's the topic we're discussing? And I said, school dances. And he's like, okay, cool.
Cool.
Our brother from a Canadian mother, Lee Germany, up in the... up north, says, what's the topic this month for 80s Kids Unite? And I go, school dances. He goes, festive?
Yeah, but I remember, like school
Yes.
dances were always like in the fall and the winter, though, you know? So I figured that's a good, it's actually kind of perfect, right?
Look, one of my quick little stories will have to do with a winter prom. So yeah, there are winter concerts, winter dances, et cetera, et cetera. Really quickly, everybody, if you're new to the show, 80s Kids Unite is a culmination of like every podcast on the planet that we're connected to in a brotherly, sisterly love way. Flip City Podcast is where Wayne's from. He's a brother from another mother. Corey, Podcasting After Dark. Myself, Podcasting After Dark. TV Obscura with Corey, myself, and Diallo. Territory Marks with me and Paul London. And $2 late fee with me and Dustin Rubin. And Grace as well. So it's just the three of us today. And Corey chose the topic. You can choose topics too if you sign up to Podcasting After Dark's Patreon or $2 late fees Patreon. Links are always in the show notes. But he chose the topic. Let's do it. Let's get into it. You are the, what do you call that? The Wayne. What does Dusty Rhodes say about something of the hour? The man of the hour.
You're the man of the hour.
Too sweet to be
Tower
sour.
of power.
There you go. Keep going. Too sweet to be sour. I would say too
Monkey like a monkey.
I might also say too sleazy for your parents. But Corey, jump into this. Why did you choose said topic, and what memories do school dances evoke for you?
Well, you'll have to go back and listen to the episode to find out why I chose said topic. We were talking about field
one
trips.
episode. It was
go back
easy.
one episode. I can't remember why it came out of my mouth. It's not like I love, dances or whatever, but like, hey, they were such a part of our childhood. And obviously I think Wayne might be a little bit, have some 80s experience, maybe based on your picture in a dance in the 80s. But for me, I didn't have any until that's the cover image for this episode, by the way, is Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne, not the rapper.
Not the rapper.
Little Wayne, not Lil.
My experience didn't come till the early 90s, but as an 80s kid, we all have experiences in the 90s. And it was at our high school homecoming. It was in, I want to say probably 1993, and I'll tell you why I know that for example in a second. But this was at Sherwood High School in Olney, Maryland. The only reason I mention that is because if you've seen People Under the Stairs, the guy who played Roach, Sean Whalen, he came from my my hometown of Olney. He hails from that. He actually went to Sherwood High School as well. He's years older than me. I was not. There was no overlap there. But growing up, we all knew him. You know what I mean? Like we knew about him, and he was in that famous Got Milk commercial. I think the Alan Burr one or whatever it is. But that's kind of like, you know. And then of course he was like in he was, you know. And then he was like in Twister and stuff like that. And he's still doing stuff. And we actually interviewed him on the show a few years ago. But yeah, he's like my hometown's biggest celebrity. So anyways,
Besides
Sherwood
you.
High School. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get there. So went to our homecoming dance. And the reason it's memorable for me is because me and my friends, we all loved Reservoir Dogs.
Here are your names. Mr. Brown, Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink.
Why am I Mr. Pink? How about if I'm Mr. Purple?
You're not Mr. Purple. You're Mr. Pink.
Who cares what your name is?
It's easy for you to say. You're Mr. White. You have a cool sounding name. If it's no big deal to be Mr. Pink, you want to trade?
Nobody's trading with anybody.
We were like most people at that age, it hit at the perfect time, and Reservoir Dogs came out in 92. So that's why I'm figuring this was either 93 or 94. I graduated in 96. And it's funny because we were so obsessed with it. And me in particular, I was obsessed with Mr. Blonde. And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, I got to wear a black suit anyways, you know, to this homecoming dance. I was like, well, I want to look like Mr. Blonde. So I went out. I found the thin black tie, you know, that he was wearing in that. It had a white shirt. The white shirt and the black, you know, suit was easy. The thin black tie was actually kind of hard to find because that was more of in late 80s style. But I did find it.
Mid to late 80s, mid to earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when I was like, I would be going to like Men's Warehouse or something looking for it. And they're like, why do you want that? That's such an old style. And I was like, no, I got to have that. And on top of it, I bought a pair of black cowboy boots to wear as well. And so I look back on it, and so I pulled it off. I pulled it freaking off. I dressed like Mr. Blonde. At the time, we didn't have a term for that. Now, I would call that cosplaying. I essentially cosplayed as Mr. Blonde to my high school homecoming dance, and I don't think I wasn't dating anybody at the time. I didn't have a girl to take or anything like that. So I just went there with my friends and, you know, we just hung out. And like, I didn't have a bad high school experience. I was one of those guys that was friends with like at least one person from like every group, you know, like I would know a jock, I would know somebody else. So like I had like a small core of close friends, but I would say hi to so many people. I never got picked on. I was kind of like a sort of a big guy and everything. And although I was just a nerd, I was just a comic book nerd. But what got me into the door with a lot of these friend groups is that I would draw. Like I would just draw in class, and I was, you know, pretty decent, and usually draw busty women, stuff like that. So of course, like the jock guy would be like, "Yo, bro, that's pretty awesome, man." You know, like drawing like Wonder Woman or something. They're like, "Oh, that's pretty awesome. You're really good. You're good, man. You're a good draw. Oh, that's nice." You know, so that was kind of like my doorway into getting to know a bunch of people. So yeah, the dance itself, I have no particular memories of that. For me, it was more of the excitement of putting together, you know, the outfit, what we would term nowadays as cosplaying. As well, of course, I chose Mr. Blonde, the biggest piece of shit in the movie, you know.
Well, a lot of people hadn't seen that movie. Mainstream audiences hadn't seen it up until that
It took a little bit of while for the snowball effect to, I think, sort of happen, because it got big on VHS, and then, you know, by the time obviously Pulp Fiction came out, people went back to check it out. But man, I watched it so much, you know, originally when it first came out.
But let me ask you, so when you went to your dances as Mr. Blonde, that one specifically in 92.
Yes, I danced like him.
So yeah, I was going to say, were there any tunes that popped up where you're like, oh, I'm going to get down to this one? Anything stand out musically for you?
No, I don't have the greatest memory, guys and gals. I've smoked most of it away with the old reefer, so I don't have a good recall of things, as you know, from my younger years. Nothing, like I said, that's pretty much what I remember from the dance. Nothing negative stood out, nothing really positive. It was more the fact that I was just so proud of my outfit, but the only people that appreciated it were the one or two close friends that I had. Everyone else was like, why is Corey wearing black cowboy boots? Which I, of course, never wore again.
Did anyone else do another character from it, or is it just you?
No, it was just me. My other friends just wore like regular suits. I was like, come on, guys. I'm like, yeah, I got dress up. No, okay, sure.
Okay, so we're talking 92. Obviously everybody's like, whoa, that's not 80s. No, but here's the thing. We were children of the 80s, and sometimes we toe dip into the 90s, just so everybody knows. And the thing is about school dances, it's not always about, oh, I got to take a date to this thing. I've got a young son, right? He's 11 years old, and he's now in middle school, and he's going to his first, non-parent dance in a couple months, and he's feeling very nervous about it because he's like, what's the point of this? Why do I have to do it? And I said, well, bud, and this will segue into my story later on, it's not always about going there to dance with a girl. Sometimes you just hang out with your buddies, So it sounds like, Corey, that's what you were doing back in the day.
Yeah, because I think I had one middle school dance, but it was so traumatic that I just don't even want to sort of talk about it or go into it.
Well,
I mean, it wasn't
Dustin
like
was here; he'd press you on that.
I know it was. It wound up with me being upset and calling my mom to go home, or whatever. So I was in a middle school that. All right, it's just. I'll set it up real quick because we have time. Sorry, Wayne. Wayne's like, this is allowed.
I can't wait to hear this. This is good.
So my elementary school were all the same people that I went to high school with. I went to elementary school with, but the line changed during my middle school age period. And I had to go to a whole new middle school during that time frame, and I didn't know anybody and everything like that. I didn't get picked on again because I was kind of like a big kid and sort of friendly with a lot of people. But this girl that I liked and everything, I don't remember. She didn't stand me up, but she ignored me or something, and it wasn't the greatest experience. And I was, obviously feeling my emotions and going through all that middle school bullshit and everything, and then just wound up having to call my mom to come pick me up. It wasn't exciting, it wasn't fun, it was just kind of pathetic on my part. I figured the Reservoir Dogs one was a little bit more fun, but hey guys, you got them both, so there you go.
Makes you want to take out a straight razor and hack a guy's ear off.
I hope Bodie has a better experience.
He will.
He will.
He will.
Right, Wayne? Wait, I mean, so y'all need to understand that there were many photos to decide what the cover art was going to be for this episode. And the minute we invited Wayne to come on and I told him the topic, he started sending me these pictures, and I was like, well, that one's really good, but his eyes were closed. Oh, that one's really good too. Oh, this. And I immediately texted him. I go, Wayne, can we use this for the cover art of our episode? And he's like, oh yes, please.
Oh yeah. I don't think you asked. I think you said this is the cover art today.
I think I did. I sent it to Corey, and Corey's like, you just give a thumbs up and we're good to go.
Yeah.
And Corey he's the one that makes the cover arts, by the way, for every episode. And I'm like, this is gold. Last month we had John Toma, that 80s dude on, who's also a regular on the show too. And with his image from his field trip. But Wayne, let's segue into that. Tell us your history with school dances and school dance memories.
So the cool thing about school dances, I have this classification because when you said school dances, I started thinking about my prom experiences and homecomings and stuff. But school dances were also a regular part of when I went to school, that they didn't have anything to do with the homecoming thing or the prom thing. School dances are kind of they're fundraisers that the school puts on or clubs put on. It's here's the Halloween school dance, here's the Christmas school dance, or Valentine's Day. And it was I went to late elementary school when I was living in Miami, and there was a school dance every month. It was whatever club or whatever department is they're just hosting a dance. You pay a couple bucks at the door, you get a square pizza, to eat, with
those are the best ones, baby. Yeah, baby.
And you're having a good time with your friends, and you go into the concession thing. And the thing about the school dance part was you wouldn't tell now. I am not the Hollywood fashion plate now, but when I was in elementary school,
y'all should be looking at this on YouTube and subscribe to us, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube. Look at Wayne's shirt. It's so festive.
In high definition. I loved dressing up for these school dances. Sometimes I would take my clothes with me to school because sometimes they would happen right after school. And so you go and I'd put on my Giorgio Brutini shoes with the metal tip at the end.
Oh, wow. This
my
is
Z
Miami
Cavaricci
after all.
pants. Oh yeah. I had Z Cavaricci pants, a nice little parachute to them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
a white dress shirt. Sometimes I'd have a bolo tie. I don't know why, but bolo ties were hot in the late 80s,
They were, yeah.
And and I'd come out there like ready to go, and it was just so much fun to dance. Maybe there was music there, but to stand in the corner and look cool with your friends, and like to look across the way at the at the girl that you liked or whatever, and like you're just kind of like, yeah, they're over there, we're over here, hi. And then like maybe like sometimes the DJ would be like, okay, couples dance, and then you'd have to come out and like, you're in middle school, your limbs are growing as you walk, and so you're just like, okay, here you go, and then you kind of like learn how to like step side by side. But then in the 80s in Miami, you'd put on that freestyle music, and you start playing. It's like, and I'm hearing, ooh, oh, Diamond Girl, and you're just like dancing to Diamond Girl. And you're just doing your best to see like, okay, what's the dance move I saw on MTV, on Club MTV with Downtown Julie Brown, like all that. It's like, what's that one dance move that I can do that I get everybody like forming a circle around you, and going, oh, and then you like step back and let somebody else in. And it was just that kind of time. It was like completely innocent. You weren't there with like, with a date, that's like what you just tell Bodie like, hey man, be the dude that starts the circle.
Right. Exactly.
And then you have everybody there like all together. But I just remember it was the wildest time, because it was middle school. You'd have kids dressed to the nine, and then you'd have kids dressed for PE,
Totally.
And then the snacks and the concessions were like, this is like a mix between like school lunch and somebody went to like the Costco and they bought the candy bar pack,
Yeah, right.
Go there and it was just, for me, those were the memories like that I had. It was kind of like, let's mix the school dynamic and this like fancy dynamic. When I got older and I started going to like proms and homecomings, I felt like the stakes were higher.
Yeah.
The expectations were.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're right,
yeah.
Zach. Expectations were released higher. Yeah.
And it was like, this is going to be the greatest night of my life, and you're like, it's like 2:00 and you're in Denny's, and it's, how did we get here?
Been there. Well, yeah, and I think a lot of movies ruin that too. A lot of movies that we watched as kids, like 16 Candles, for example, or where the nerds are not having a good time, but then suddenly they do at the end, or all of the movies that Footloose, and you're like, oh my God, this is what it's going to be like when you go to a dance, and then you go to the dance, you're like, this is nothing what it is like in the movies.
I mean, it's such a staple. I mean, I think every generation, and they probably still make them now, but every generation has movies about, high school, that the dance, the big build up to that and everything. Yeah, there's so much expectation on that. Wayne, for the cover image though, do you remember what year that was?
So I'm wearing glasses and stuff, so it had to be, I had to already be living in Miami, because that was a very Miami cut. So I had to be like 11 years old in that thing. That was one of those, it was, so that may not have been a school dance, because I'm wearing that tux. If I'm wearing that tux, I was probably at a quinceañera. So yes, I was at a 15th dance, and I just kind of remember like I was younger, but I was in the court. And so I had to like be a part of like this, like a quinceañera as a Hispanic, family. It's kind of like one of those, like, it's like a coming out party. It's like a debutante kind of thing, where like every girl just kind of comes. They spend a lot of money. They come out of like these like, butterfly cocoons and stuff like that. Here's this girl in this beautiful dress, and they have like a court. And then like there's, guys and girls in fancy dresses and tuxedos and all that. And they learn some kind of like choreographed, dance. I'm pretty sure like our choreographed dance was, everybody dance now. And we had to like do a whole thing and put on those moves. But yeah, that was a pretty hot, like that was a hot looking outfit. Hot enough for me to keep that on my phone for all these years.
Yeah, I know. And I love the wood paneling in the background too. That's so 80s. So 80s.
So good.
It was so perfect for that. But you wanted to like look good. Like that was where like at these school dances, like your hair didn't look the same. You had to like spike it up a little bit and throw it on there. You had to make sure you had the right kind of like, 80s fade going on. And
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because like I didn't figure out I was like kind of a late bloomer as far as like fashion and what I was inspired by went you know, and even like music. I didn't really figure out my style until like high school and like what I was into, and it went from like Alice in Chains to White Zombie, then to Tool forever. But it's like, but I listened to things as a kid in the 80s, but it was just kind of like whatever was on the radio. I didn't like go out. Like, and that's why Zach and I, when we talk about music and stuff, Zach knows so much more than I do and everything. I think you were much more in tune with Zach with what you were into. Whereas for me, it was just whatever sort of came at me. Movies was the first thing that I sort of like understood what I liked, you know, like movies and TV shows and comic books. They were like all sort of visual things. And then like fashion wise, it was like in high school, early high school, late middle school and everything, where I start realizing like, oh, I can see what I like and try to emulate that in movies. And so like, you know, the dressing up like Mr. Blonde is such like an sort of extreme thing, but it was the culmination of me figuring out like my style. And I've talked about it on our Del Morte Del More review episode, Zach, but like I went through a weird phase where I loved that movie so much. Cemetery Man with Rupert Everett. I loved that movie so much that for like 6 months straight, I just wore black slacks, a black jacket, and a white shirt. I like had multiple of the slacks and multiples of the shirts, but that's all I wore. And I was like, I was testing out a style, you know what I mean? And but yeah, I didn't come into that kind of stuff until I was like in high school and everything. I don't know why, because I remember as a kid, I will say, Zach, the thing I did love the most as a kid was the TNC surf design outfits and shirts. That was my favorite thing in the 80s to wear.
And like Wayne said, you literally could do that at a school dance. You could show up as a schlub wearing, you know, as my mom called them, jam shorts and a surfer tee, right? Or you could show dressed in the nines, like not necessarily a quinceañera outfit, but you know, you're wearing your, like you said, Wayne, your Z Cavaricis and maybe you've got an Izod shirt on or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. Back in the day, I will say, you know, I had the benefit of having an older brother. Well, many times I often say I had the detriment of having an older brother based on the trauma that I endured as a kid. But I also, at the same time, it's a yin and yang. There was a balance of positivity there. My brother Eric, you know, he's 5 years older than me. And Corey, you mentioned, you know, like modern stuff now showing school dances are pretty accurate. I'd say like the season 2 of Stranger Things, when Eleven gets to go to the winter ball and have that whole experience, that feels very authentic to its time. And relatable. And on that Stranger Things note, my brother was like a combination of Billy from Stranger Things and Eddie from Stranger Things. You know, he wanted to work out and think he looked really hot, but he was also like a metalhead and was super into like D&D too. He was like another, again, a balance. But I think I learned a lot from him watching him go to proms, 5 years older than me, having a girlfriend and being like, oh, I'm sitting on the couch watching MTV and watching music videos. And thinking about like, is that going to be me in 5 years, you know? So I will say that similar to you, Corey, I changed, I went from different school districts in elementary school to middle school. So I started fresh in 7th grade and knew maybe 1 or 2 people. And that was about it. And a listener to our show and a frequent, he's messaging me all the time about podcasting after dark. And he's a buddy of mine from way back when, Dean. Dean would always message me and he's like, yeah, you know, he used to say, I'm so sorry these things happened to you as a kid. I'm like, no, it's great. It makes for great audio.
Makes and for now great
video.
Radio.
Yeah, radio and video now, if everybody's watching this, depending on where you're watching this. So middle school, I connected. I had this little cool comic book crew back in the day, and very similar to like a Stranger Things group, you know, where we all were like into Doctor Who and comic books and like indie comics like Judge Dredd and Flaming Carrot. And I mentioned some of those, baby, right back in the day. It's the second Flaming Carrot reference I've made in the past month or two.
That's a really deep cut, man. I'm really proud of you for this.
Thanks. I wish I still had them, but anyways, you know, these were the things that like we would go to our comic stores and just hang out. So when the looming pressure of this dance was coming, you know, middle school, I remember going to parties and like, you're going to go in a closet with her. I'm like, what am we supposed to do in there? I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want puberty to hit me. I was holding it back, you know? So I went to my first dance in middle school at Lincoln Junior High. And I remember just hanging out with my buddies and dancing like an idiot, like doing the sprinkler dance or doing the robot, and like things that just felt very easy to do, and just sitting around talking to my buddies about cartoons and video games, DuckTales, how rad DuckTales for NES was, and how I wish I could go home and play that. And my buddy Dean would be like, let's go to my house and play Leisure Suit Larry. And I'm like, what's that? Oh. Dean knows. I think it was Dean that had that. Anyways, he'll correct me. But, that was the time in middle school, which is the late 80s, and safety dance. That was my dance to go. Like, that was my go-to jam. I didn't find dancing until I graduated high school, and one of my best friends, Mark Fong, he was like, we're going to the club. And I'm like, oh, I have to dance. And that's where, Wayne, we would do the circles, and I would practice my dance moves before I went out. But high school was where the trauma is involved, and there's always a heartwarm to the trauma. But I shared this with Grace offline, because Grace was going to join us today, everybody, but she was really, really sick. She was actually going to wear a prom dress and like to the nines. And I did want to shout out some of her favorite songs to dance to, because it connects to something I was dancing to a lot back in the day, and I think you guys might have as well. She said she danced to Expose. Yes. On Point of No Return by Expose, and that was her middle school dance, and Jump Around by House of Pain at her high school prom. I think we all danced to that. And the fact that they reference Sega in House of Pain, I'm like, that's what makes that song so much better, because they do a deep cut on Sega. Anyways, there's this dance, I don't even know if they still have it anymore. It's called the Sadies Hawkins dance, and it's where, traditionally the boy asks the girl to the dance, right? The junior prom, the winter ball. But the Sadies Hawkins dance is the twist. It's where the girl has to ask the boy to go to the dance. Right. And in my junior year of high school, I was asked to go to the Sadies Hawkins prom dance, and by this girl who was a year younger than me. So I already felt bold. I hadn't had a girlfriend up until this point. I barely kissed a girl. If my son ever hears this, he'd be like, yeah, yo, it's true. I had no experience, and I wanted to. Trust me, I did. And I think my mom knew that as well. I think she was like, I think Zach wants a girlfriend or whatever. I don't maybe she listened to my dreams.
Dear diary.
Right. So this girl asked me to the Sadies Hawkins dance, and I'm like overjoyed about it. And I tell my mom, and she's like, oh, do you want to get a limo? And I said, yeah, but we couldn't afford it. So what does her friend do? Our good friend, Andy, he and his wife, they rent a Lincoln Town Car. And which is, a mini version of a limo, basically. Yeah. And Andy puts a suit on and dresses up as a chauffeur. Oh, and he shows up at the house dressed up as a chauffeur in the Lincoln Town Car to pick up myself and then my date for the night. It was the sweetest thing. Anyways,
that's awesome.
I almost said her name. Go back into the archives of $2 late fee and you'll hear the trauma, because there's a lot. Anyways, we go to this Sadies Hawkins dance together, and we're dancing to House of Pain, Jump Around, and whatever was hot at that time. I think Gonna Make You Sweat probably came up at some point by CC Music Factory. But it was a great time, all things considered, and I think I was caught up in the moment, and this speaks to my dating history. Suddenly I'm like, oh, we should just be boyfriend and girlfriend, not even thinking about the ramifications, the consequences involved.
The ramifications.
Because this was like, October, November. Anyways, we started dating, and we're going to junior prom together. We're winter ball together, and then junior prom. And at this point, I'm like, why am I even dating this girl? Because we have nothing in common, and really. And then suddenly I'm like, I have no more friends. My basketball nerds don't want to hang out with me anymore. She called Zach. We'd be the other side of the quad hanging out with my buddies. Zach, get over here. And I'm like, I gotta go, guys.
Sorry, guys.
My God.
And people often say, they're like, why did you just break up with her? Because we had like 4 or 5 classes together in high school, and I couldn't just break up with her in like mid-year. So I waited to the end of the year. I waited till summer. I actually broke up with her on my birthday.
Oh no! Happy birthday to me! I got a present for myself.
I didn't invite her to my birthday party.
Get out of here.
1, I didn't invite her to my birthday party, and 2, I break up with her on my birthday. And go back again in the archives, you can listen to that story. $2 late fee. And so, flash forward to my senior year, which was endured with her, like, getting crank called by her, hearing the toilet flush and walking down the hallway, someone screaming my name, fuck you. I'm like, oh God, getting traumatized. And I'm just trying to hide with my buddies. And
what's the toilet flushing? Is that you? Are you like the turd being flushed down the toilet? Is that...
She called me and I hear this giggling and suddenly you hear a flush. Cause that's what people did, right? They crank called.
That's it, man. What are you going to do? You got to prank call somebody.
And it was really, stressful. My senior year was the first couple of months were like hiding, but then I was kind of coming into my own. And I'm like, I'm kind of cool now cause I'm free. And I went to winter ball with, this her last name's Campbell. She was actually she's related to the Campbell family, Campbell Soup Company, which is not getting a lot of good press right now. Understandably so.
I was like, I don't think that's a good thing to go with.
That's not a good thing. But we went to winter ball together, and I had a blast. And I was like, oh, is this going to be the girl I date? No, I didn't even get a hug out of it at the end of the night. I think even got a handshake, a Laurel and Hardy handshake. But anyways, that was my experience with dancing. I was so awkward. I just wanted to hang out with my buddies. That snapshot I had of middle school, hanging out with Dean and Jamal and, Larry, like all this crew that I had. That was my crew that I wish we could maintain. I look at our 80s Kids Unite family. I look at the three of us and Diallo and Dustin and Grace and John and like all the people we've had on the show over the past few years. And I think about how like this would be our crew. This is our crew now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'd all hang out. Yeah.
And how us nerds, we're all nerds, but we're all nerds together. And everybody watching this, just know that we would all be there for each other at those proms, dancing with each other, So just put that in your mind and like erase
Wayne would be the
trauma.
Coolest, though. Wayne would be the one.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I gotta tell you. So my quick prom story is that like I asked. I went safe. I asked a friend, right, to go to the prom with me, my senior prom, and I was a senior, she was a freshman, and it was one of those things where it was great. I have not spoken to this girl since high school, and so but we had a great time. But she was younger than me, right? And so the funny thing was, all my friends, they've got girlfriends, they've got all and stuff. And so, we all were going to the prom together again. This is going to be the greatest night of our life, and we're like, we're hugging at the end. We're all, dancing to our songs. We're like, we're going to be friends forever. And, it was great. But because my date was much younger than me, she was a freshman. Her mom was like, okay, got to be home at 10. And so I remember like everybody's like leaving prom and it's like, okay, like, what are we doing? Where are we going? And I was like, I got to meet up with you guys later. I have to take my date back home. She's got to go home. And so we had a limo and everything. And I had to tell the limo driver, let's take her home. And so we went, I dropped her off at home. And then I went to Miami Beach and I met my crew again.
Nice.
But they're all coupled up. And so it was one of those things where this guy, and again, and I, it's like, I love my friends and all that, but I wasn't drinking then and I wasn't doing any of that. Like, and so I was kind of like the designated like watcher and observer. I kept everybody safe.
Look for
that
cops.
was my thing. Yeah. I was like, I'm watching you, like making sure you're good. Don't go with this person. Come back over, and I'm doing that. So at the end of the night, everybody's still doing their thing. And I sit down on the couch. And the person who plops down like next to me is my cousin who also goes to high school with us. My cousin Dee Dee. She is a riot. She's great. But she sits down next to me and she goes, "How you doing, cuz?" And I look at her and I go, "This is not how I expected my night to go."
Well, here's the thing. Like, you triggered a major like revelation or an aha moment, right? That this generation doesn't understand, because this generation now, when you're bored or you go to a place where you're feeling awkward, you whip out your phone and you just start doom scrolling, right?
Yeah.
But we as kids,
we had to kick rocks. We had to fucking kick rocks.
Just stand there. You just stand there and you look
watch.
like a goof.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane. No, it's so true. It's so fucking true. And have you ever like tried that, guys? Like now, like go to somewhere, wait in line, be like, really I'm gonna pretend like it's the 80s and see how long I'm gonna stand here without looking at my phone. I can't go like 30 seconds. I'm like, what am I doing this for?
That's
this
so
is
true.
Stupid.
It's so true. because that's the trauma. Like, yeah, here's okay. I don't know if we can necessarily document this, but y'all, if someone on here can go 5 minutes at a place, whether it be a bank, whether it be a place you actually, oh, that's the thing too. Don't online do it. Go to a store and wait in a line. If you can do that for the duration without pulling your phone out, we'll send you an 80s Kids Unite sticker. Just let us know. Let us know in the comments where you did that, what location you're at, and we'll send you out an 80s Kids Unite sticker, because that would be impressive. And that goes for any person listening to this, young or old, because that is that's a skill.
You need to send a video from your phone of that whole 5 minutes.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, have your friend. But that's the thing too, like going to proms, to dances, standing around feeling awkward. That scene in 16 Candles, you know, where John Cusack and the whole group are just standing there awkwardly. That's relatable.
Yeah.
That's what happened to so many of us.
And it was just the coolest thing. Just, you know, and it's one of those things where it's a shared experience. It's a whole different thing when you're
shared
at this,
trauma.
you know. Yeah. Oh yeah. Shared trauma, because it's like, I'm sitting there, like I could go back now and I can ask her, hey, remember when, you know, the last two people standing at this prom party were me and you? It was just like cousins. That's it. And it's like, well, okay, I guess we're all going to Denny's. But it's that whole idea of, you know, just that shared experience where everybody's focused on, you know, what's everybody else doing? Well, I'm standing over here. I'm trying my best to be cool or to look cool or to not throw up, you know? And it's like, you know, just, and the coolest part about those dance experiences back in the 80s and the 90s was, you know, was that, again, it was just like anything else. It didn't have to be like a movie prom or a movie, The Enchantment Under the Sea dance or nothing. It was a cafeteria, a couple of streamers, some square pizza, and a boombox, you know?
and so let us know, everybody who's watching and listening to this, what were your memorable school dance experiences like? Did you have the square pizza? Did you dress like Mr. Blonde from Reservoir Dogs? Did you have the Z Cavariccis, or did you wear jam shorts with a TNC t-shirt on? Like, what was your experience? Were you the awkward kid? Were you the kid who like brought a date, you know, and was the king or queen of the ball? Let us know. We want to know all that stuff, and then we can privately hate on you too, because, you know, that's the person you felt you're jealous of. Anyway, I'm kidding, sort of. Let us know in the comments, and you know, let's keep that conversation going, because I feel like, even though this is a end of the year episode for us, it's the final episode of 2025 of 80s Kids Unite, and it is around holiday season. You know, dances are supposed to be fun and festive. So in a way, this is a festive episode. So thank you, Corey, for suggesting this topic.
You're welcome.
And Lee, did you go to a dance? Did you go to a winter
Do they have
prom?
dances in Canada, buddy? Are there dances up there, man?
Do they dance with maple syrup in their hands? Is that Canadian enough for you?
Zach, that doesn't look like what you think it looks like.
Yeah, I just did. Never mind. I'm not going to cut that. So if you're not watching this, you're listening to it, go back and find out what Corey's referencing. No, we love you, Lee, and you're always going to be on the warm side of our door. But festive time, I am so grateful for you guys. You know, Wayne, you've become a friend like this year, pretty much this whole year, like become a brother. Corey, we've known each other for going on, I don't know, 15 years now.
I think at this point, yeah, wow, bro.
Insane, y'all. And that's because of Diallo. Thanks to Diallo, I wouldn't have met Corey.
Yeah.
And then, you know, thanks to my wife, I wouldn't have met Diallo. So bingo, bango, it all connects. And thanks to my wife, I wouldn't have met Wayne. No kidding. You know, like, we are all connected. We're an 80s kids family. This inception of the show came about because Dustin was like, let's do something at LA Comic-Con that we don't typically do. And that was 3 or 4 years ago, and here we are going on year 4 pretty soon of 80s Kids Unite, or right?
I think year 3 maybe. Yeah.
3 or 4, not not even gonna say it.
Yeah, I hate you.
We'll get there when we get there. It won't be fun to say when we get there.
It won't be a thing then, hopefully.
You know,
did you hear that In-N-Out is they're taking the number 67 off of their rotation? They won't. But I gotta admit they're keeping 69 though. So hey
Mom and Dad, what's that mean? It's a Gemini symbol, is what 69 is. Proud to be a Gemini. Anyways, love y'all. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of our 80s Kids family. We got more big things planned in 2026. coming to a town near you, hopefully, if you're on a coast, preferably the West Coast, but maybe we'll get out to Florida. Anything's possible, y'all.
Yes.
If you can go to a dance and have a good time, then anything is possible.
Hell yeah.
So until next time, any parting words, Corey, Sleazy C?
Just, dance your heart away and don't cut any ears off,
There you go. Wayne, how about you?
I just got to say 25 turned out to be a magnificent year where I found a newfound family here with my my Night Boyz and girls, and you guys are amazing. And let's dance.
Hell yeah.
'80s Kids Unite is brought to you by Hungry Hungry Hippos, the loudest tabletop game in history. And by Nickelback, Zak's favorite band. If you'd like to suggest topics for this show, go to the Patreon of either $2 late fee or Podcasting After Dark, or both. All links are in the show notes. We love you.
Oh, listen, I just wanted to say goodbye and remind you that the good guys always win, even in the 80s.